hi everybody. I'm here with the wonderful, beautiful Belle DuCray. She's an amazing person, so I've wanted to interview her for a very long time, and now we are finally here. She's a painter. She does these amazing paintings and illustrations, and she's also a psychic, a powerful psychic and a tarot reader. So, welcome, Belle. If you could.
Hey, how are you? Welcome. Hello, everybody.
And please, maybe just introduce yourself with your own words, because I'm not sure if I said everything
Okay.
that you are.
Okay. So my name is Belle. I'm the 12th Belle in my family. My maiden name is Crow. So I've always kind of had that observant personality to watch things and interact with magic. I married a French aristocrat, and I liked his name better than mine. So that's how I became Belle DuCray. And then in all of my books, I do mostly illustration, pencil to paper, no computers, a piece of paper and a pile of pencils. I've illustrated 12 books. I'm also an interior designer and an artist, and I always refer to myself as like the hippie Martha Stewart. I grew up in the South, which was very interesting growing up being an artist or someone outside of the crayon box. And I left the South. I grew up in Huntsville, Alabama, the land of rockets and magic. And, my next door neighbor was the rocket scientist, Werner von Braun. So I grew up with a belief system larger than your typical Southern Christian acclimated concept of thought. I always grew up just knowing that I was different. I was part of the fairy tribe. I had a beautiful piece of property. I had a lovely childhood that literally was very enthusiastic about me being an artist. So I wasn't a child that says, well, go do something that you can make money at, right? Don't be an artist. And my father was an architect. So I did have kind of a leg up in the industry to be a creator. I told somebody not too long ago, I said, I was very lucky because at 13 years old, I'd already designed a bank. I knew that what I could dream, I could create. There was never a question that my imagination could not create something real. And I don't think children are given that opportunity very often to be writers, to be artists, to be creators. We're told that we're not able to.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things is use your imagination. Your imagination is greater and wider than anything on the planet. And I think so many people are stagnant in their imagination. So
Yeah.
I come from a very broad believe in believing. If you can see it, it can be it. Right.
And you also told me a fascinating story about the Bells in your family, how they had some contact with the Cherokee Indians.
Well, with my ancestors, I go way back. I'm, American, Mayflower kind of stuff. We came over on the Black Swan, I think, on part of our family. But my ancestors were, I know even in this town, my ancestors have been here since the late 1700s. And a Southern thing that Southern women do is we name our children, our girl children, we give them a middle name because we lose our last names, right? And we lose contact with our cousins and our, second cousins and our third cousins. So I'm actually the 12th, like 1, 2, 12. I'm the 12th Belle in my family. My mother was a Belle. My grandmother was a Belle. My great grandmother was a Belle. And we were known as the well keepers. And we literally kept the well. We took care of the well. We lived above the well. We were, we made sure the spring was always working, the spring being the well, right? And so I grew up with a very mystical belief system that I was part of a lineage.
Yeah.
And so it always seemed normal. My ancestor on one of my sides is Charles Darwin. So I was always my great grandmother was named Belle Darwin. And I always just was very questioning of what was being presented to me. I questioned authority. I questioned religion. I questioned politics. And I would see things. I don't really consider myself a psychic. I know a lot of people do. People ask me, "Oh, are you a medium?" And I'll laugh and say, "No, I'm a large." I don't take that aspect of my personality that serious. My dad was always, don't take yourself too seriously. Nobody else will. So I kind of tossed it aside as I was growing up. It was also very painful for me to know what people were thinking, to be able to read their body language, to see their auras. And there's a lot of falseness, especially in the South. They're, really, really friendly to your face, but they talk about you the minute they leave the room. So it was really hard for me. So I learned to shut it down when I was growing up. Instead of really honoring it, I was afraid of it. And of course, being in the South, my mother was like, no, 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 you're not special. No, 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 we're not kin to those people. We're not witches. No, don't go down that avenue. Probably to protect me in a Southern Baptist kind of way of seeing things. They saw me when it was really hard. It was hard being, as my father or people say, it's very hard to be gifted. And I don't think people realize, when we say we're gifted, people think, oh, well, isn't she, snotty, or doesn't she think she's special? But I think that when we look, especially like if you're looking at the ruin, the Celt, the Viking ruin of gift, it's not that it's a gift, it's that the gods have gifted you something that makes you special. And when you're growing up and you're told not to consider yourself special, what do you do with it? So it's a real balance.
It is hard. And how did you actually get to tarot then?
I left Alabama, which is where I am. I don't know if we said that, but I'm in Huntsville, Alabama, which is Rocket City, USA. So it does have the highest level of IQs per capita of any city in the United States, because everybody's a rocket scientist, everybody's an engineer. But I left Alabama when I was 28 years old. I had an opportunity and I moved to New York City, and I didn't know a soul. So it was really when I took off on this adventure, it was like I was kind of like a caged animal that was set free. And I think I went out and I got a Toth deck or something, and it was really just kind of cocktail party, like, oh, look, and then I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just, having a drink with a friend and playing with it. And I left New York after 10 years and I went to Southern California in Santa Barbara. And Santa Barbara was an incredibly spiritual community. Everybody reads tarot. Everybody's a medium. Everybody, is into crystals. And, it was just magical to me. And that was kind of how I fell into it. And it just kind of morphed. I started doing books with a friend of mine that was based in Celtic mythology. And one day we were like, hey, this would make a great tarot deck. And I sat down and just started studying one by one the true deep meaning of tarot, because there's a big difference between tarot and oracle. Tarot is a set of rules. The Two of Swords is always going to mean truce. Right? The Five of Earth is always going to mean kind of financial problems. So it's not like you're inventing the message, but as an artist, what you're doing is you're creating a billboard, a small billboard, a 4-inch billboard, to communicate an emotion, to communicate a trick, to let that person look at that illustration, in my opinion, to look at that illustration and to have an inner conversation with themselves. More so than me telling them what they're dealing with. To me, it's a bridge.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm not really telling you anything you're not already hiding from. Right? So, and then it just kind of formulated. It took me like 3 or 4 years. It's 78 drawings, 78 messages. And right now I'm in the process of doing an oracle deck that goes with the tarot deck. And to me, oracle and tarot are very different. Oracle is really a pretty picture and a message, but they're all tapping into your subconscious. And
Yes.
I talk to my subconscious all the time. So,
So when
the
you
first
do,
step,
sorry, go ahead.
go ahead.
So when
No, you go.
when you do a reading, you use the traditional tarot or you use your own?
I use my own tarot.
Your own tarot.
I learned on traditional tarot. I learned on the Thoth deck. But to me, the way I worked my tarot with my co-creator, Ayn, who Ayn Cates Sullivan, she and I created this deck together. And we built it using kind of Carl Jungian conceptual of archetypes. Right? And so all the archetypes in the deck have storylines. So the first two cards that I pulled up the Temperance card, right? And that is literally where we all are right now. We are in the middle of hell in America with our election. And I think by the Temperance card coming up right now, and of course I'm talking from a perspective as an American caught in a really horrible division of our country, and the Temperance card is what we need right now. We've really got to start riding down the middle of the road. It can't be the right or the left. It can't be the right or the wrong. It can't be the this or the that. We've all got to come together with compassion, moderation, temperance, everything. To me right now, it's the only way that America is going to survive this division. So the card that's crossing the Temperance, I have Temperance as our first card, and our first card was Temperance. That's where we are right now. And like I said, this is the card of balance. This is a card of moderation. This is the card that falls in between death and the devil, right? So we're sitting here in this place, literally holding our own self up to try to be fair, even, moderate, not lose our cool, stay in the right, stay in the light. And it's a hard time right now because I don't know what's going on in your country, but my country's going through just hell. And I pulled the card that's crossing it is the sun god Lu. And like I said, Lu carries his spear. And his spear is known to represent duality because when you put out something, it comes back to you. And I think that is the true lesson of Lu's spear in my research and what I think the spear represents. The spear is also, I use the spear in my wands cards. Because to me, they're fire, they're creation, wood. Spears are made of wood, wands are made of wood, so they kind of both go together. The card that I have in my conscious card, which is the card at the top of the draw, is also a wands card. It's a fire card, and it is what's going on our conscious level, in my opinion, of the Celtic cross. It's our conscious existence. And I pulled the 9 fire, because again, I call mine fire as opposed to wands. And I call it the defense card. And it's a card about boundaries. It's a card about putting up boundaries and knowing when and how to put up your boundaries. And like I said, we are kind of looking at what's going on right now. And I think it's very important that we have our boundaries with our family, with our friends, with work, with politics. We've got to know when to put up our boundaries. So I think we're consciously aware of that right now. And I think a lot of people are learning how to use boundaries that they've never known what boundaries were before. And what we're creating, we have to know that we've got to protect what we're doing, and we've got to protect our thoughts, and we've got to keep other people from influencing us. Subconsciously, the card that I pulled was what is known to most people as the Emperor. I actually use the Green Man as my emperor because in Celtic mythology, we don't really have an emperor. And to me, the Green Man represents, but again, this is a very feminist deck. The Green Man, to me, represents the divine masculine that's not toxic. He's the kind, loving, giving, masculine energy that we really need back on the planet right now. We need the men to find that kindness, to find that peace and love within them instead of this toxic masculinity that I think we're all dealing with on a daily basis. And I get it. They're afraid that they're going to lose their power. But, hey, subconsciously we need to tap in. And not only is it the masculine, but I think women have got to tap into our masculine abilities. And I always tell people with my deck, just because I pull a man does not mean it's a masculine card. It could just represent the divine masculine leader that we need right now, that comes from a place of peace, love, and compassion. And it's just, I'm trying my hardest to keep politics out of this, because I think the word politics to me mean multiple bloodsuckers, because it's politics. And I don't really do politics. I think they're all kind of not really good people. But we're all stuck in a place right now trying to find that leader within ourselves, and that compassionate, empathetic side of ourselves, to me, that the green man represents. You asked me earlier, did I think the green man was God, in the God form? And I do. And I do believe that the masculine can be kind and loving and giving, and be compassionate and have empathy. So that is all that I can really hope for subconsciously right now. The next card that we flip over is what we're coming out of, or what's in the past. And I got the 10 of air, or the 10 of swords. And the 10 of swords is basically, to me, the only death card in the deck. It's really an endings card. It's like, let it go. It is done. Let's get out of this. Let's leave it. Let's leave behind what is no longer serving us. And I think that kind of says a lot in right now where we are, is that we're coming out of something that's got to stop. This division has got to stop. It's the only way we're going to survive. The card that I'm turning over is also an air card, and it's the 2 of air, which is the truce card, right? And I can argue with my brother all day long, right? But it doesn't behoove me to argue with my brother all day long. And I really think that the 2 of swords has got to be what we've got to do as a human race. We've got to lay down our swords. We've got to go back to, you go back to your tower, I'll go back to my tower, because war, no one is served by war. The only way that we can get through all this is to lay down our swords, and to try to find that middle road again, to try to find that temperance, right? To try to let go of all this, because this anger and this division isn't serving anybody. Nobody's winning. And that's what we're coming into, is a truce, right? And we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. The next card that I turn over is the card down on in the tarot. You have the 4 cards coming up the right side. And so the bottom card, as I always see it, some people call it the environment. I really call it how we are perceived by the rest of the world, right? How does the world see us? Are we a mother? Are we a daughter? Are we a child? It's your status in life, or your environment. And the card that I pulled of that one is the 7 of Pentacles, or what I call the 7 of Earth. And it's the word of patience. It's the word of planting the tree, knowing that 20 years from now it will bloom. And I think we are in that place right now where we've got to be patient with what's unfolding. We've got to have patience and belief that what is coming will be better. But it takes patience, and patience, as my brother says, is the hardest thing in the world for a lot of people. To sit back and wait for the end result is a hard thing to do. You want to be proactive, but sometimes in life you can't be proactive. You just have to sit down, let the water come down the river, and wait for the fish to pick up the line, right? If you're impatient, you're not going to catch the fish, right? And patience is a hard thing for people to have right now. And I'm not really sure who I'm reading for. I guess I'm reading for everybody. So I guess I'm saying to everybody, let's all have patience. The next card that I flip over is sometimes called the persona card. And I always kind of look at it as, if that's how the world sees me, maybe this is how I see myself, right? And the card that I got for that was also a fire card. And it's the 3 of fire. And I call it inspiration. And to me, it's the magic that happens as a creator, and you as a writer, where does it come from? Does it come from the fairy world? Does it come from our dreams? Does it come from something I may see or read? Is it something that God has given me? But to me, that third energy that comes in as the three of fire is that magical thing that I believe that the gift that is given to us, the magic of our imagination, the magic that occurs. I don't know where my drawings come from. I don't know where my dreams come from, but I do trust them, and I honor them, and I honor them as a gift from the beyond, right? And so to me, let's all kind of sit in our creative source and think, how can we create the truths? How can we make the world love each other again? How can we, as a singular human being, do something for the good of other people, right? And that's God intervention, magic, whatever you want to call it. Like I said, it is, the magic. And I drew a magic wand on this one. And I'll show you that in another one. But inspiration, imagination is the persona card. The next card that I pulled over is your hopes and fears. I always also call it be careful what you wish for card, right? And that's third up from the bottom. And that card is the judgment card. And I'll show it to you right now. But when I did the judgment card, I'm not a big firm believer in being judged by anybody. And to me, the biggest judgment that I ever deal with, that I think we all deal with, is how we see ourselves. It's the judgment of ourself that really is what we've got to deal with on a daily basis. And when you look at the card, it's hard to see it here, but if you look at the card really closely, and I'll send you a close-up, there are two faces at her waistline, and it's like she's looking into her own soul. So really the big thing is be kind to yourself, but remember in life that you are really the biggest judge of you. Not your mother, not your brother, not your sister, not your boss, but you. And so you've got to answer your own judgments, and you've got to give yourself a hall pass. You've got to give yourself a break, because it all judgment comes from within, in my opinion. You can buy what they're saying about you, or you can stand in your truth. And so that's the judgment card of, what's coming up, our hopes and our fears, is this judgment card. The last card up in there is what I call your outcome card. And I always look for, if I don't pull a major arcana, I'll dig into the deck. The first card that I pulled up there is the Seven of Cups, or the Seven of Water. And that to me is an illusion card, right? And illusions are double-edged swords, right? If you believe in something enough, does it happen? Or if you believe in something that's not true, do you not get bamboozled by an illusion? So there's a fine line with illusions. And it's really a conversation. Do I buy what I think I'm buying? Do I believe in what I'm selling? And I think you have to really stand back. Every time that you're dealing with something, you have to stand back and say, is it true, or is it something I want to be true, right? And that's illusion. Are you in a relationship? Is it a good relationship because you've got an illusion that the relationship is okay? Are you making excuses to make the picture look pretty, or is it really true, right? I believe in fairies. People say I'm delusional, right? And that's the word illusion. So what do we do with our illusion? And then I pulled a second, I dug down, and I took up the first major arcana card to be our outcome card, and I pulled the death card. And a lot of people are terrified of the death card. And I'm like, no, it's rebirth to me. To me, it's about starting over. It's about trading in what's no longer working for you. It's about letting go of the things that are no longer serving you. We're sitting here on a big, huge harvest moon right now. What do we do on the full moons? We let go of things that are no longer serving us. The death card is not about death. The death card is about rebirth, in my opinion. But I have a very positive outlook. I have a very positive, deck. So I think the thing that we're looking at for the outcome is literally that we are in the concept of a rebirthing of our humanity. And it's struggling. We're having a hard time with it. The roads are shifting. The rules are changing. People want to hold on to the way things were, and it's not going to work anymore. The world that we've known, you and I growing up, is no longer the world in which we live. We've got to let go of our illusions. Interestingly enough, it's illusion, and then it's the death card on top of it. One of the things that I have in the deck is I have a series of healing cards that Ann and I have put in it. And I didn't pull a lot of healing cards on this pull. I did pull one healing card that went with the second to last card, the judgment card. And how do we deal with it? And the card that I got is the awakening card. And it's the color turquoise. It's about being, I think, in order to get through these judgments, we're all going through an awakening, right? And I hate the word woke. They use it now almost like a cuss word, right? But I think that we're all going through a sense of what was yesterday. We're waking up to a lot of truths that we didn't have before. And how do we deal with being aware? And a lot of people are going through this, but I didn't want to know that. It was easier when I didn't see the truth, right? And it's hard for people to wake up to the true realities that we're dealing with right now. Because, 10 years ago, we didn't have this ability for you and I to talk on the internet and have conversations. We didn't have the instant videos that we can see what's going on, right? So awakening is a hard thing. And when we're going through judgments, seeing yourself truly as yourself is, I think, the hardest thing that people are having a hard time doing is, who am I really? Not who you're trying to be, not who you want everybody else to think you are, but who are you really in your true essence of self, and be true to yourself. Don't be somebody for somebody else. Be somebody for you, right? And then the last card I pull off the bottom of the deck, and I call it the pearl. And like all pearls, it's kind of the dirt that gets up in your shell that makes you the beautiful necklace that you are, the pearl necklace. And I pulled the hermit card. And when I did the hermit card, I did a beautiful woman. And she's standing there with a lamp really close to her. And everybody's like, no, the hermit's an old man sitting in a cave. And I'm like, no. The hermit can be any of us. And it's really, again, it's like the truth. You've got to go within yourself to find the truth. And you can't find your truth if you're constantly going and monkey minded, and you're constantly going here and you're constantly doing this. You've got to sit down by yourself with your own self and have that conversation, because nobody else, no psychic, nobody can tell you who you are but you. And we've gotten caught up in this world of cancel culture, and I got to wear this, or I got to drive this. And what does everybody think about me? What does anybody say about me? But it really doesn't matter. And you're not going to know who you really are until you really, the judgment card, the love card, until you love yourself. And that's it. I mean, have that moment with yourself every morning. Who am I? What am I doing? What am I accomplishing? But we're afraid to be by ourselves. We're afraid to have those inner conversations. People are afraid. That's why they do the drugs. That's why they escape into alcoholism. That's why they go shopping. That's why they're constantly avoiding their self. Mm-hmm. And it's a sad thing. And I see so many people that are avoiding who they really are because they're afraid. They're judging themselves. They're not up to par. They don't weigh this. Their lips aren't puffy enough. Their eyelashes aren't long enough. Yeah. What if people think, the worst thing in the world is getting old. I don't like getting old. I don't like who I look like anymore, but I'm 64. I'm not the 28-year-old rock star that I used to be, but I still can love myself. I still can honor myself. And then I pulled one last healing card, and it's the card of creativity. Mm-hmm. And it's the card of, and I tell people on a daily basis, what are you creating? You don't have to be an artist. You can create a beautiful meal for your husband. You can grow a garden. You can create a safe place for your friends to come. Create something. Lakshmi, the goddess Lakshmi says, what are the two most important things that she offers are goals and purpose. And I find when people don't have goals, when people don't have a purpose, that's where we lose ourselves. Why do we wake up in the morning? Do we just wake up to go to work? Do we just wake up to go get to make money? No. We need to know what we're doing for a reason. We need to know that what we're putting our energy into is what we wake up to do. And a lot of people don't have that. I talk to young kids these days, and I'm like, what do you love doing? And they look at me and go, huh? What? I want to make money. And I'm like, well, that's not what are you passionate about? And you ask these kids, what are you passionate about? And they don't even know what that means. Oh, football. Well, no, what are you passionate about? What is, and again, this is over in my, what I call the pearl. And your creativity and yourself, creating something for yourself, not for somebody else, but just for you. Make your home your sanctuary. Make your garden a place that you want to be in. Make the dinner that tastes good, even if it's only for you. Creation, to be a creative soul, and you and I are lucky. We are gifted. And we've been given the gift of being able to create, being able to imagine and see something come to fruition in a physical form. And we're very, very, very lucky that we've been given that. And there's so many people on the planet that don't know what it is to create anything. And I don't know if it's a DNA. I don't know if it's fear of failure, so they don't try. But I want everybody to be a creative sort. To me, my creation and my ability to create something that I can imagine. And this whole reading has really been about creating the world you want to see. Mm-hmm. And don't just accept and say, well, I can't do anything about it.
Yes.
Because it starts with you. Only you. Yes. You're the only one, and the only person you can change is yourself. You can't change your husband. You can't change your children. You can't change the weather, but you can change yourself. If you're doing something that's not good for you, you're the first person. I hate it when people say, oh, I can't quit doing that. I'm like, well, yeah, you can. If you want to. If you don't want to, you can use your hall pass. And I talk a lot about hall passes because I think we're all traumatized as humans. And so many people get stuck in their trauma that they are their trauma. And you can't do that. You cannot be what happened to you. And that's very Jungian. But when I try to work with people, I'm like, show yourself some love. Treat others with the kindness that you want to see yourself treated with. And just try to be good humans. And I always, Ann and I always laugh. And our first little book that we ever did, the little girl says, but Mommy, I'm a human. I'm all the different colors of the rainbow, right? And don't put down the red in you. Embrace your red and embrace your green and embrace your violet, because we're all these beautiful beings of light and the prism of light and the concept that we are all the colors of the rainbow. We're not just all purple. We're not just all green. We are that human rainbow, and there's sides of us that aren't perfect and there's sides of us that are perfect. So how do we balance it? Every day. Every day we balance our rainbow.
What a beautiful reading, Belle. Thank you so much. This was really powerful, and I can't wait to share this with everybody.
I don't think I'm a normal tarot reader. Like I said, I don't really fall into the concept.
You're very unique and yourself, which I love.
Well, you're an amazing human, and I'm so glad that I know you, and I'm glad you're in my tribe, and I'm glad I'm in your tribe.
Me too.
And I just want everybody out there to really just treat themselves with the love that you want, because if you don't love yourself, my friend in New York City was RuPaul, the drag queen, and I still to this day I quote him on a daily basis. If you can't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else? And it really all starts with self-love and truth and honoring yourself for who you really are. Don't hide behind, because so many people are hiding from themselves. How do we stop hiding from the true self that we are?
Yeah.
Because that's what they're escaping. They're escaping their true self. Why are we escaping our true self? Be the crystal in the window. Let the light hit you.
Yes.
And shine your rainbow out there, even if it's lopsided.